Peace. What's happening, good people? This gift here for Pay Us No Mind. And today, man, I think we got a pretty good show lined up, man. We're going to be talking about Apple versus Spotify and just this war that is happening between these two companies about Apple's fees and things of that nature. And it's a common thread between both of these stories today, and that is two companies that has decided to rob indie artists are now complaining about bigger companies or companies that are just as big abusing them. So you got Spotify versus Apple, and you have Universal Music Group versus TikTok. And those are the two topics, and they are interesting. Believe me when I tell you. So we're going to dive into that in a minute. Let me check the system, make sure we're good to go, and then we're going to dive into the topic at hand. Now, for those that don't know how we do this, I run my mouth about the topic at hand for the first 15 to 20 minutes. Then we get into the live chat where everybody get to ask questions or whatever have you. If you have not subscribed to the channel, make sure you do that. Click the bell icons for whatever that's worth. You know what I'm saying? Also, if you want to support the channel and send a super chat donation, subscribe or become a member, whatever it is you want to do, however you want to support, we appreciate it here. All right, y'all? So let me check, make sure we're good to go, then we're going to dive into it. Yeah, man. So, okay. All right. So first, let's talk about this Apple news. You know, I'm gonna read this article and then I'll share my thoughts on it. All right. So you check this out. So you see here, this is a decent article that kind of highlights the core issue at hand. So it's like quick catch up. What's the beef between Spotify and Apple? And I'll try to breeze through it as fast as I can. Spotify and Apple have been going at each other legally for more than 4 years now. What is happening and why? What's the Apple tax? Why does Spotify have complaints about Apple's business practices? Here's a quick catch up on the last 4 years of legal trouble. In 2019, Spotify fired an anti-competition complaint about Apple, which is interesting, anti-competition, because what they're doing to us can be considered anti-competition, but I digress. About Apple with the European Commission, the company alleges that Apple Music limits innovation and constraining user choice. Spotify CEO Daniel Ek said the 30% fee that Apple takes from all third-party apps constitutes a tax to do business on the App Store. Now, for those that don't know, Apple charges developers, people who want to sell anything in their app, have to pay 30% of whatever revenue that they generate. So if you guys went and created an app, some type of game or something like that, and you allow people to buy it in the App Store, you have to pay 30% of your revenue to Apple for the right to sell in iPhones. Now, if we pay this tax, it would force us to artificially inflate the price of our premium membership well above the price of Apple Music. So they're basically saying that if they pay this fee, right? They're saying that if they pay this fee, that they're going to be forced to jack up the price of Spotify in order to make up the loss and revenue that they would have to pay. And that Apple Music doesn't have to jack up their fee because it's owned by Apple. So they don't have to compensate for losing 30% of their revenue. Now, the core thing here, and I'll get out this article, right? And I'll link to it in the description box for anybody that wants to read it. But generally, the core thing there is that to avoid paying a 30% tax, what Spotify started doing was, especially with the sale of audiobooks, rather than allowing people to buy it in the app store or in the app, rather, they would send you a link to your email, and then you could buy it from your email on like a mobile website, like the mobile version of Spotify's platform, as opposed to the app, to avoid Apple's tax. Now, what Apple decided to do, because they were doing that, was to impose a 27% fee on purchases through links on iPhones. So if somebody buys something from a link, developers now have to do calculations and stuff like that and pay Apple 27% of revenue generated outside of the App Store. So they're saying, hey, this is abusive. These guys are just basically robbing us, forcing everybody to pay no matter what. They're not allowing people to avoid their fees, and that is anti-competitive and things of that nature. Now, listen, it's Apple's house, effectively. It's what they own. It's their rules. If they say, hey, you got to pay, you got to pay, right? So it's like, I mean, listen, and I could come off as being bitter or whatever have you, but I look at this and I'm like, listen, man, listen, these companies are abusing other people. They're abusing artists. They're making sure that they make their money no matter what, all of this other stuff. So now it's like, if you look on Twitter, if you look at Spotify's profile on Twitter, they're basically making a sympathy plea. They're coming to the audience and they're saying, oh, we're just a poor little sleep sheep with no place to sleep. Oh, look at what Apple's doing to us. We need the community. We need the artists. We need the consumers to rally around us to say, Apple, knock it off. You know, this is going to negatively impact you, the consumer. No, it's not. You could use Apple Music, right? So it's like, at the end of the day, man, they want the rules to be changed when everything doesn't fit them. But then they want to be able to make rules that negatively impact other people and expect everybody to be okay with that. You know what I'm saying? And that's the same thing with this Universal Music news. So let's dive into that. Let's dive into this Universal news. See what they talk about. Yeah, so here's the Universal news. And let's get to this. So you see here, Universal issued an open letter to the artist and songwriter community why we must call time out on TikTok. So now it's a community, right? Now everybody needs to come and rally to the defense of Universal Music Group, who is trying to make themselves be like the voice of all artists, you know? So this is what's happening with them. So they say, our core mission is simple: to help our artists and songwriters attain their greatest creative and commercial potential. To achieve these goals, our teams employ their expertise and passion to strike deals with partners all around the world. Partners who take seriously their responsibilities to fairly compensate our artists and songwriters and treat the user experience with respect. One of those partners is TikTok, an increasingly influential platform with powerful technology and a massive worldwide user base. As with many other platforms with whom we partner, TikTok's success as one of the world's largest social platforms has been built in large part on the music created by our artists and songwriters. Its senior executives proudly state publicly that music is at the heart of the TikTok experience. And our analysis confirms that the majority of content on TikTok contains music, more than any other major social platform. The terms of our relationship with TikTok are set by contract, which expires January 31st, 2024. So that is today. and our contract renewal discussions, we have been pressing them on three critical issues: appropriate compensation for our artists and songwriters, protecting human artists from the harmful effects of AI, and online safety for TikTok users. We have been working to address these and related issues with our other platform partners. For example, our artist-centric initiative. Now, artist-centric is the thing that they're implementing across all of these streaming platforms that basically makes it so artists who don't meet a certain streaming cap don't get their money, and that money that those artists don't get gets taken from them and given to Universal Music artists and Sony artists and Warner artists. So effectively, it's taken from the poor and given to the rich. So that's the system that he's citing here. So they're saying our artist-centric initiative is designed to update streaming's remuneration model and better reward artists for the value they deliver to platforms. In the months since its inception, we're proud that this initiative has been received so positively and taken up by a range of partners, including the largest music platform in the world. We've also moved aggressively to embrace the promise of AI while fighting to ensure artists' rights and interests are protected now and far into the future. In addition, we've engaged a number of our platform partners to try to drive positive change for their users and, by extension, our artists by addressing online safety issues, and we are recognized as the industry leader and focusing on music's broader impact on health and wellness. Now, that's a bit, basically now they're just trying to pull on the emotional heartstrings to make people feel like they're the good guys, right? Because it's like we're trying to fight for health and wellness and safety on the internet. With respect to the issue of artist and songwriter compensation, now this is the core, this is what the actual issue is. It's all about the Benjamins, baby, right? TikTok proposed paying our artists and songwriters at a rate that is a fraction of the rate that similarly situated major social platforms pay. Today, as an indication of how little TikTok compensates artists and songwriters, despite its massive and growing user base, rapidly rising advertising revenue, and increasing reliance on music-based content, TikTok accounts for only about 1% of our total revenue. Ultimately, TikTok is trying to build a music-based business without paying fair value for the music. On AI, TikTok is allowing the platform to be flooded with AI-generated recordings, as well as developing tools to enable, promote, and encourage AI music creation on the platform itself, and then demanding a contractual right which would allow this content to massively dilute the royalty pool for human artists, and a move that is nothing short of sponsoring artist replacement by AI. Further, TikTok makes little effort to deal with the vast amount of content on its platform that infringes our artists' music, and it has offered no meaningful solutions to the rising tide of content adjacency issues. Now, we're going to cover the reason why TikTok does this and how it does this, let alone the tidal wave of hate speech. Now, this is just like misdirection, bigotry, bullying, and harassment on the platform. The only means available to seek the removal of infringing or problematic content, such as pornographic deepfakes of artists, is through the monumentally cumbersome and inefficient process, which equates to the digital equivalent of whack-a-mole. But when we propose that TikTok takes similar steps as our other platform partners to try to address these issues, it responded first with indifference and then with intimidation. Effectively, what they want them to implement is some form of content ID. As our negotiations continued, TikTok attempted to bully us into accepting a deal worth less than the previous deals, far less than fair market value and not reflective of their exponential growth. How did it try to intimidate us? By selectively removing the music of certain of our developing artists while keeping on the platform our audience-driving global stars. So yeah, a while ago, TikTok implemented this test where they basically took off artists that were Universal Music Group artists to see if it had any impact on a platform, effectively preparing themselves for something like this. TikTok's tactics are obvious. Use its platform power to hurt vulnerable artists and try to intimidate us into conceding to a bad deal that undervalues music and shortchanges artists and songwriters as well as their fans. Now, this passage right here, I find hilarious because this is effectively what they're doing to us. So they're saying TikTok's tactics are obvious, uses platform's power to hurt vulnerable artists. This is what they're doing with artist-centric, quote unquote, and try to intimidate us into conceding to a bad deal. But with us, they're basically shaming you, saying, hey, if you don't get X amount of streams, then that means you're not a real artist. So you shouldn't be saying anything about it, right? That undervalue music and shortchanges artists and songwriters as well as their fans. Now, we will never do that. We will always fight for our rights or for our artists and songwriters and stand up for the creative and commercial value of music. We recognize the challenges that TikTok's actions will cause and do not underestimate what this will mean to our artists and their fans who unfortunately will be among those subjected to the near-term consequences of TikTok's unwillingness to strike anything close to a market rate deal and meaningfully address its obligations as a social platform. But we have an overriding responsibility to our artists to fight for a new agreement under which they are appropriately compensated for their work on a platform that respects human creativity in an environment that is safe for all and effectively moderated. We honor our responsibilities with the utmost seriousness. Intimidation and threats will never cause us to strike those responsibilities. So that's what it is. Now, the fight with TikTok is interesting because there are two ways for people to put their music on TikTok or for people to use music on TikTok. One is the audio library, and that is due to the licensing agreements that they have with record companies and all sorts of rights holders like TuneCore and things of that nature, where there's a library, you go in TikTok, you say, hey, I want to use this song, you go to the library, you run a search for the song, and you add it to your TikTok. Now, when people do that, that generates revenue for the rights holders. Now, the other way is for you to just have a song playing on your phone or on your computer and just record yourself doing whatever while the song is playing in the background. And that is not something that rights holders get paid from. So with that, if people are recording themselves with music in the background, then that is subject to Content ID, because Content ID has to identify the song. Like it's basically a digital fingerprint that scans TikTok, finds the matches, say, oh yeah, that's Beyonce's song, or that's Jay-Z's song, or that's Kendrick Lamar's song, and matches it, claims it, and then the artists and the rights holders will be able to collect revenue from the usage of that. Now, TikTok does not have a Content ID program. They leave it up to the rights holders to basically police their platform. So if people aren't using your music from the audio library, then you basically have to go in TikTok and find everybody that's using your music and then report them to TikTok for it to be removed. Now, TikTok can do this because of something called safe harbor laws. Now, safe harbor laws is what protects YouTube against record companies and things of that nature. Because what self-harbor laws state is that you are not, as a platform or app or whatever have you, you are not responsible for what gets found on your servers as long as you aren't aware that it's there. So if I upload a song to YouTube, the owner of that song can't sue YouTube because it's on their platform. They can tell YouTube that it's on their platform, and then YouTube has to remove it. And if they don't remove it, then that person can sue them because they can say, hey, you knew it was there and you left it there, and now you're liable for copyright infringement. But as long as YouTube removes it when they know it's there, then they're in the clear. But what happens with these platforms is, like they were saying, it becomes a game of whack-a-mole, right? Where it's like, I upload it, you find it, report it, they remove it. But when you got like 10,000, 20,000 different people uploading the same thing over and over and over again, you're not going to catch everybody that's doing it. So it kind of like paralyzes you because you don't have the ability to police it. So because you can't police it, you can't get it taken down. And because you can't get it taken down, that means your music is going to be on a platform no matter what. So it handicaps you from a negotiating standpoint because you can't say, hey, if you don't give us what we want, we're going to pull our music from your platform, because the music is going to be on a platform no matter whether you consent or not. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, you can consent and get something from it, or you can say, hey, I'm not going to play ball with you, and then we just use your music anyway and give you nothing. So what do you want? A little bit or absolutely nothing? And they're like, hey, man, this is unfair. This is not right. This is abusive. We're not going to stand for this. But effectively, TikTok doesn't need them. They don't need them. So yeah, if they wanted to use their music for legitimate purposes where they were actively doing things on TikTok, then it would make sense. They would need music. But because users upload to TikTok and will find a way to use the music that they want to use no matter what, they're like, dude, we don't have to give you anything. Kick rocks, because TikTok is not in the position of Spotify. Spotify is dependent on record companies. So with Spotify, record companies can come to Spotify and say, give us this, give us that, or we'll pull our music. Because if they pull their music, then Spotify collapses. And on top of that, Spotify signed non-compete clauses where they can't go and like form their own label and deal with artists directly and stuff like that. That's why when they even tried to do something like that, they were working with managers, like not labels and things of that nature, because they couldn't do that by the contract that they had with the record companies. It was a non-compete clause. But I don't think that that's what TikTok has with record companies. So when you look at the optics of how everything is flowing, TikTok is a platform that is breaking artists. So artists can come to TikTok and get established. And now they're launching their digital distribution company and they're launching their own streaming platform. So it's like, okay, we have a social media app where we're breaking artists. Then we have our own streaming app that we're going to link to and send people to listen to those artists. Then we have a digital distribution company that artists can go to get their music into our app and on our social media platform. And then we're going to integrate promotion into that, where those artists can pay us to get their content boosted and increase the visibility of their music on our app, which allows us to make more ad revenue. And then the money that we're paying them from the ad revenue through our digital distributor, we're going to take a percentage of that too. You know what I'm saying? So now it's just like this 360-degree ecosystem that they have where, dude, they would be the music industry. They would be the music industry. Now, is that a good thing? Hell no. You know what I'm saying? The reality of the situation is you don't want monopolies, because once you have monopolies, there is extreme abuses. And the same way they playing this game that they're playing with the record companies is the same. They would do it worse to us. They might not give you nothing. They'll look at it. They say, hey, man, this is promotion. Why give you a dime? So it's like, to some effect, we do have a similar interest in this sense with Universal Music Group. Now, the reality of the situation is we might be screwed no matter what as indie artists, because it ain't like if Universal Music, whatever deal Universal Music Group has them agree to, it ain't like it's going to be something that's beneficial to all artists. It's going to be something that's beneficial to the artists that they represent, where their interest lies, right? Where it's like, we want to make the most money. So for all we know, they could be trying to squeeze them and get them to bow down to artist-centric too, where they're saying, hey, we want you guys to agree that once artists cross this, if artists fail to reach this threshold, they don't get a percentage of the revenue pool. Because it is the same, because it's a pool of revenue with TikTok, the same way it's a pool of revenue with Spotify that everybody has to split. So if you could eliminate people that get a percentage of the pool, then you can keep more money. And that's effectively what they want across the board. So them now coming and saying, hey, artists, rally around us. We need to fight against TikTok and their abuses. It's like crazy, bro, because it's like y'all not on our side. You know what I'm saying? Y'all just trying to basically get your own bread, you know? So it's like, good luck to you. You know, we need to kind of like turn to our own platforms and start building out independently and things of that nature. But aside from all that, the thing that I find most interesting about this is just like the recognition of value and how artists tend to devalue not only their art, but themselves. So it's like, in a sense of TikTok and Universal Music Group, TikTok doesn't want to pay Universal Music Group what they feel like they're worth. So Universal Music Group says, yo, we're going to pull our music, right? With Spotify and Universal Music Group, they conspire to create a monetization strategy that strips artists of their revenue. Artists' response is, yo, guess we got to step our game up. You know what I'm saying? Oh, how do we figure out what we can do, you know, and leave the music there? So artists still put their music on Spotify, still sending people to Spotify, still sharing their Spotify rap, and just hoping that it all works out. And that's what the whole thing, that's why they didn't care about doing it, because they kind of knew that artists would still play the game at the end of the day, man. You know, but this whole thing is really wild, man. You know, from Spotify complaining about Apple charging them a tax for basically for living in their house. It's like, yo, you live in my house, you got to pay me rent, you know? So they want to be able to leverage the App Store, but not pay rent. And it's like, dude, nobody gets to live for free. Now, is 30%, 27%, is that extreme? I mean, listen, it ain't no extreme than us, right? Because it's like, if you sell a digital download right now, you have to pay 30% of that sale to Apple. That's just the way it is. So it's like, if I have to pay 30% of the 99 cents that I get when I sell a digital download, why shouldn't Spotify have to do the same if somebody subscribes to premium or something to that effect? You know, now they're complaining that it's anti-competitive because basically they're saying rather than lose the 30%, they would have to raise their prices. But you don't have to raise your prices. You could just eat the 30%, right? You know what I'm saying? Listen, they handicap us because it's like iTunes has a certain restraint. Maybe it is antitrust, right? Because it's like we can't charge what we want for a digital download. They have the prices structured where it's like 99 cents. I think the most you could charge for a digital download is like $1.28 or something like that. You know, like that's the most you could charge. So you can't be like, all right, here's what I want to make. You know, they're taking 30%, so I'm going to increase my price by 30%. You don't have the ability to do that. You know, so you just have to eat the 30% loss. Spotify is saying, oh my God, they're forcing us. They're forcing us to have to charge 30% more to the consumer in order to compensate for this 30% fee that they're charging us. But avoiding it by sending people to their website or whatever have you, Apple is finding a different way to charge them for that, charging them 27% if people buy through a link. I think there was also some mention of taxing them if people are basically for like per download, like for every person that downloads the app, they would have to pay a fee. And for every update they send, they would have to pay a fee. So it's like, dude, everybody is trying to get paid. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's trying to get paid. Universal Music Group, their fight with TikTok, dude, they're not it's not like they're losing money, right? It's not like they're like, oh my God, we're not. It's about more money. They're saying, hey, these guys don't pay us what their presence states that they should pay us. So it's like you getting $2 million from somebody that makes $5 billion. So it's like, well, $2 million is a lot of money, but you're looking at it and you're saying, but that guy makes $5 billion. So him making $5 billion, he should be paying me more than $2 million. Not due to your lifestyle, not saying that you don't have enough money to provide for yourself, not saying that you're not living a luxurious life, but simply saying that because this guy makes $5 billion, he should be paying you more than $2 million. That's effectively what Universal Music Group is saying. These guys are making so much money, what they give us is such a tiny fraction of what they're making, and we feel like we're more significant to their platform than what they're paying us. So we should be paid more. Now, the reality of the situation is, again, TikTok does not need them because TikTok is a sound platform. And I made this argument before, but I'm going to reiterate it again. TikTok is about sounds. Now, people would, and this is my belief, I think there's more money in uploading sounds to TikTok than there is in music. Like, even like not even sounds, just catchphrases. You know how you got like Urkel, did I do that? You know what I'm saying? Different Strokes. What you talk about, Willis? The guy from Joey, I believe his name was, right? From Blossom. Whoa, those types of things. If people created like an audio library on TikTok with all of those different types of things, even with like a hood dude being like, yeah, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Or somebody saying, you know what I'm saying, right? All of these different things can be terms and words that people can use to play with in their videos on TikTok. And that would make mad money, mad money, because people want to express themselves and they just be looking through the library to find stuff that allows them to express a sentiment. Sometimes it's a song, but it could be anything, So it's like, that's why I think TikTok is like, yo, we don't need y'all. As long as we have stuff here, as long as we have music for people to use, they'll use whatever's here, So it's like, if they could find a signed artist song that says good job so they could express that their son did a good job, then they'll use that. But if they have to find an indie artist song that says good job, they'll use that, So it doesn't matter, man. But yeah, let me see what y'all talking about, man. Word, yo. If you're in the building, tap in so I can shout you out and say what's up. But yeah, man, this stuff is like, yeah. So again, with TikTok, you have user-generated content from the standpoint of the audio library that people can go into and pick songs to use. And then you have people just playing a song, doing a dance, and posting it to TikTok. And that is just free promotion for the artist because it does not drive revenue, Now, another thing, man, I got some stuff coming, man, like a breakdown of like influencers versus influence, because a lot of people be like basically looking at people who have audiences as if they have influence, but the two things are not synonymous, man. So that's something that I wanted to talk about and break down, man. Even some of this stuff with like the changes and digital distribution and all of this. So those are things that I got coming on the website. So make sure you go to the payuslamond.info website and check out the content that we got there. Also, for those that don't know, we have launched a music platform ourselves. So we now have Pay Us No Mind Music that there's a link to in the description box that you guys can go to, create an account, submit music. If you've created an account, make sure you submit tracks, so you guys get some music up there, because I'm about to start running some ads and promoting the music that's on the platform, driving traffic and stuff like that. Because right now we're kind of in open beta, so we're testing. So I want to see what happens when people get there and how they navigate and what they look at and what they do when they get into the platform. So your music will benefit from the advertising that I plan to do. So, get in, submit your music. For those that maybe had challenges uploading banners and stuff like that, we fixed that issue too. So go there, upload your profile picture, upload your banner, upload your music, and, let's rock out, man. Now, yeah, man. Let me see who in the building so far. We got Zope Belafonte, what up, my guy? Jerry NRG, what up? DPM Network was good. Creator Season, what up? Gift Cast. Nah. Get Cast. I think I need glasses, man. Solomon Wyatt and Zope has a comment, has a statement, something he said, man. So let's see what's up. Let's see. Somebody said, Creative Season says, what are your thoughts on Sound.xyz or Bandcamp? I mean, listen, man. Bandcamp is charity. And that's the big issue with Bandcamp. I know artists that have had songs on Bandcamp for years, and they've gotten one sale, because the reality of the situation is it is not constructed for e-commerce. There is no conversion tracking. There is no conversion optimization. There is no access to the checkout flow. So you can't even examine what's happening during the checkout and correct things to say, okay, well, people are having a problem adding stuff to their cart. Let me fix this. Let me change how people pay or whatever, right? Let me add Stripe. Let me add PayPal. Listen, like, you've got no ability to do any of those things. So Bandcamp was constructed almost like a suggested donation. It's almost like, to some effect, but to a lesser extent, public shaming, because it's online, so there's nobody looking at you. But within artist communities and communities in general, there's a bit of shame attached to it. So it's like the way that the public, the suggested donation works at an event is somebody says, okay, here's a $5 suggested donation to get in and see this show. You can pay it, but you can choose not to pay it. Now, you're online. Most people that come to see the show are going to be like, okay, people are doing the show. It's only right that I can pay a little bit, a little $5 to support. Now, you come to the door and you're like, yo, you don't want to give anything. Now, you have to basically say that to everybody. Allow the person in front of you, the person behind you, the person that's sitting, taking the money for the door, to say to him, and to send a signal to everybody in the venue that you don't think whatever event that you are now coming into, sitting down and prepared to enjoy for an hour or however long the show lasts, you don't think it's worth paying anything for, right? So now you're going to look like a moocher. You're going to look like somebody who is inconsiderate, somebody who isn't all of that supportive. So within communities where those types of things matter, where people are looking at you and like, oh, well, this guy doesn't support, and then people don't support you because you have now been established as being unsupportive, it works because everybody's going to dig in their pocket and pay. If not because they genuinely want to pay, then because of optics, right? And perception, and not wanting to be viewed a certain way. And the same thing can happen on platforms like Bandcamp, where somebody has a whole bunch of friends, and this is why they put those little thumbnails underneath on the page where you can see who bought So people could come in and they can see, oh, Eric supported, oh, Jason supported, oh, Linda supported, right? And they could also see who's missing. Yo, Bobby is his homeboy. He ain't even up here. He ain't support him? Damn, bro, that's messed up. He ain't even support. You know what I'm saying? So people get shamed into supporting. But when you don't have a community like that where people get shamed into supporting, then it's about, do I need to buy this? Do I want to buy this? You know? And people don't need to buy music. You know, they have it on Spotify. They have it on Apple Music. It's there. YouTube, they can stream it. They don't need to buy it. Now, you could twist their arm and take it off of everywhere and say, hey, buy it or bust. But at the same time, you can't do high-level marketing with Bandcamp. You can't, like, run a Facebook campaign and optimize it for conversions. That's out the window. Can't do a Google campaign and optimize it for conversions. That's out the window. It's just like whatever you get is whatever you get, you know? Now, Sound.xyz is similar in that sense. It's also like charity. There is no conversion tracking. There is none of that configured there either. It's just buy, you know, if you want to support my art. But in a sense, it's worse because with Bandcamp, at least they get something for their money. So with Bandcamp, you buy a digital download of a WAV file or an MP3 file. With something like Sound.xyz, music NFTs is vaporware. You know what I'm saying? You don't get anything because the music is free. So once you set up an NFT, that music effectively is not on the blockchain. That music is stored in a cloud library somewhere, maybe Pinata or something like that, where it's stored in the cloud and freely accessible to everybody. It's right there in the code. Anybody can click the link and go and hear the song, download the song. They don't have to pay a penny for it. So with NFTs and Sound.xyz, they are volunteering to pay for it. So they're just giving money to give money. They don't need to give anything. You know what I'm saying? So you're asking people to basically give you money without, and that's what I would say. You know, it's I guess it can come off as less beggy than something like Patreon or Kickstarter, where you're saying, can you just give me money to support myself because I want to make a living off of my art, right? Like that's what those platforms are saying. I want to do art. Can you just give me money so I can do art? Sound.xyz is like, buy this NFT, but it's really effectively the same thing because they're not getting anything with the NFT other than just the certificate that says that they gave you money, you know? So it's like a donation that is not recognized as a donation. It makes it seem, and with NFTs, it has this whole thing from when people were selling them for a whole bunch of money. So it made it seem as if they're way more valuable than they are. But all of that was just speculation and nonsense for the most part, you know? Yeah, man. So let me see what's up here. Hold on, y'all. Zope Belafonte was like, is it, what do he say? He say, what's your opinion on variable and opulus? Is it something that you would integrate on the new Pay Us No Mind site? I mean, opulus is its own thing. You know what I'm saying? That is basically, they are taking revenue from wherever an artist gets. Now, for those that don't know, let me back this up because I did a video on Opulus. But Opulus is like an artist investment platform where people can come in and buy a percentage of an artist's revenue. So you could buy a percentage of an artist's royalties in the form of NFTs. And that's what the NFTs represent, a stake in the artist's royalties. It's almost like buying a stock, like buying stock in Spotify or something like that. You know, you are granted a percentage of that person's revenue. Whenever their money comes in, that a percentage of it, whatever you bought, 10%, 20% goes to you. Now, the whole thing with platforms like Opulus is that they don't operate like how record companies or even a bank might operate with like a business loan, in the sense that you don't get to leverage your potential. It is based on what you currently have. So if you make $10,000, then people will give you $10,000. You know what I'm saying? If you don't make any money, then nobody's going to invest. With loans and like record deals, people are investing in potential. So it's like, here's what I think this guy is worth. Here's how much money I think this guy is going to make. And they're giving you money based on what they think is going to happen. With Oculus and a lot of these investment platforms, it is based on what's already happening. So you're not going to raise too much money beyond what you already make. So it's kind of like, okay, well, is it really worth it? Because you are selling your royalties. So it's not like an advance with Beat Bread or something like that, where after a certain amount of time you pay off the loan and you get your catalog back. You have sold it. So if you sell 50% of your, and that's the thing, right? You are selling it for money that you're already going to make, but ahead of time. So you are going to make $10,000 for the year. So you're going to sell 50% of your catalog for the $10,000 that you are already going to get. And that 10%, that 50% of your catalog or whatever you sold, you never get it back. Now they own it. That's theirs. Not the ownership, but the royalties. It's theirs forever. So whatever, if that blow up and start making a whole bunch of money from streaming or whatever, you've given away 50% of it for now and forever. So, I mean, to answer your question about integrating into Pay Us No Mind, it's more so them integrating Pay Us No Mind into their platform, where if I have to pay you royalties, rather than sending the royalties to you, I would send it to Oculus. Yeah, man. Hold on, yo. Hey, Bella Beth, what up? Yo, you gotta check the platform now. Cause I posted just stuff first, but I made a whole bunch of changes. You know, I mean, I just went into my programming bag and just started updating a lot of different stuff. You know what I'm saying? Adding, basically user profiles and things of that nature, adding gamification to it where people can earn points for consuming artist music. And now and this is something that I have it right now the way it is if a listener comes to your profile page, if like they like there's 3 things that they can do to unlock a free download of an artist track. An artist can volunteer to allow their music to be given for free in exchange for these things. So one is they hit the page, because when they visit the page, that generates ad revenue for you. So they've made you some money by just visiting the page. 2, share. So if they share the track, the social media or whatever have you, then that is a second step that they could take towards unlocking a free download. And 3, joining. Now, right now, it's just joining the platform. But what I want is to have an integration to where an artist could like send me, like they could come in and put their MailChimp API key or whatever in there, or they could just have me collect the emails and have it sent like CC or whatever to their email, where when somebody joins the mailing list, it will go to their email. So then it's like you got those things where the person come in, they visit the page, they share it to social media, they join your mailing list, and that unlocks the free download. Because a lot of times with artists, man, the big thing is promotion. You need the music to spread. You need more people to listen to it, because especially now, the money is being made off of licensing, you know, where the music becomes valuable in a sense where it takes on some level of cultural significance within a group of people. And then from there, you know, it gets licensed for movies, TV shows, video games. You know, people put lyrics on T-shirts, even with this AI stuff where people might want to use your voice or whatever have you, you know, all of these different things. But that's where the long-term money really is. It's in the licensing, and the licensing comes from like having an established brand, and your brand gets established when your music moves. So it's like, it doesn't really like basically benefit you a whole lot to have like a restrictive kind of thing where you're saying, hey, if you're not going to pay me for this, then you can't have it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want people to take it and spread it. Now, we already got the music for free, because that's the thing too, right? It's already available for free on the platform. People can listen to it on YouTube, Spotify, all of these things. So they don't have to pay for it already. So it's like twisting their arm and saying, buy this thing that you could have for free. It's like, but at the same time, they might be willing to do certain things that would cost you money to do for free in exchange for this free thing, because downloads is ownership. And now they know, hey, I own it. I don't have to worry about whatever restrictions and ads and stuff like that I might be confronted with on YouTube. So these are just things that I'm thinking about from that standpoint. Also, allowing the artist to kind of like build on my system, where it's like I got the platform, but artists can also have their own point system. So it's like you could have like the Bella Beth coins or whatever have you, right? And it's like people could come in and earn those. And then we could create a system to where you could have content locked based on how many of your coins people own, and badges that you could have, where it's like, okay, well, once you earn a certain amount of points, that unlocks these badges, and these badges unlock this, that, and the third, even the system that I have also extends to local real life stores, where through QR codes, people could come in and spend your points at a restaurant or a clothing store or a venue or something like that. So it extends beyond the platform. So it's a lot of stuff, a lot of moving parts to it. I'm just working on it, building it out, trying to make sure everything work, and I'm getting at, how people are, man, where it's like you decide to build something, people come in, they say, oh, this don't work. Oh, this guy's trying to build something. Oh, it's not perfect. Oh, look at him, right? But I'm like, it's all good, man. I'm building, and we getting everything together as we get it together. But once it get together, man, it's going to be beautiful, y'all. Word up. Yeah, man. But yeah, I mean, and to just briefly touch on the whole thing with influence, like influencers versus influence, it kind of goes back to advertising, so you got advertising. With advertising, you are paying for awareness. Basically, you are paying to get in front of people. So if somebody like how people be having these conferences and stuff like South by Southwest, Sister Soul Conference, all of these different things that happen, and then people pay however much, $2,000, whatever, for a booth at these conferences and stuff like that. They just want visibility. People come in and they see it, and they maybe come over, chat them up. Maybe they sell something, maybe not. Maybe it's just a brand recognition thing or whatever have you, but that's what they're paying for. They're just paying for visibility. They're not paying for, basically, they're not thinking that simply because they're at South by Southwest, they're going to get sales, or simply because they're at Sister Soul, they're going to get sales. They are thinking, hey, once people see it, then they might like it enough to buy. So they're just getting visibility. So you got that aspect of it when it comes to social media platforms and these influencers, right? People who have an account on Instagram or Twitter or whatever have you, and they have a lot of followers. So you look and you see the numbers. You see, 10,000 followers, 20,000 followers, right? And if they post something and people look and things of that nature, that means that if they wear your shirt, if they have your whatever logo in the background or something, people will see it. So you get visibility, right? So that is like basically advertising. It's visibility. But then you have influence. And influence is when somebody says something about something, people act. So somebody can get on Twitter, Instagram, whatever, and they can say, I like this song. And because they said they like that song, a whole bunch of people will go looking for that song and stream it and then talk about it and stuff like that. Like Drake, he goes and he says, hey, this new guy, The Weeknd, really feeling him. Everybody's like, Weeknd? Drake mentioned this guy. Who is he? And everybody goes and streams him. And then next thing you know, he's a superstar, right? Jay-Z can do that too. If he says, yo, man, this guy is the only person I listen to. Now everybody's going and looking up that guy's music and listening to his music. That is influence. And some people have small followings, but huge influence. Like, there's people I know that was on like Forbes 30 for 30, started like Song Trust, started these big companies, and they don't really have huge followings because they're not personalities that's on these platforms trying to get attention. They just have influence. When they say something, the right people, because again, there is a lot of people and then there are the right people. And that's the thing with like, what you guys kind of got to understand too about real life and online. Like, there is all of these numbers and stuff like that, but I would say most of the people that I see being successful, that stuff is happening behind the scenes through connections and people who actually have influence. So it's like they're connected to somebody who can make a phone call and be like, yo, I think you need to put this guy on your playlist. And then boom, they get put on the playlist. You know what I'm saying? Because this guy made the phone call and said to make it happen. So it's like, that's influence, right? So it's like with me and this platform, I would say have a degree of influence. And for you guys, you have to understand this too, the difference between being an influencer and having influence, because what that dictates is revenue for you. And how much money you can make from partnerships and sponsorships, because that's a part of this too. Not to say that you got to be out here with a Coke and a smile and all of that type of stuff, but it's in your wheelhouse. So if you're a vegan eater or whatever, you can collaborate with vegan brands and things of that nature. But the nature of the beast here is that people will try to minimize you because their goal is to pay as little as possible to get what they want. They don't want to pay you maximum of what you're worth or whatever have you. So what everybody's going to come to the table with, they're going to say, hey, you know what? We want to pay you based on your numbers. You only have 1,000 people, so let me give you $100 to say something about my company because you only got 100 people. But if you understand the difference between influencer and influence, and you recognize like, nah, bro, if I say something about you, people will buy it. Versus if this guy with 100,000 people say something about you, nobody's going to buy it. You're just going to get views. Then you say, nah, dude, pay me $1,000 and I'll talk about your brand. And you know what? Might sound crazy, but a lot of those companies, the ones that understand your value, will. And that's how I'll be operating on this channel. Like if somebody reach out to me and they like, yo, man, can you do an overview of our company or whatever have you? I'm like, all right, you know what I'm saying? I'll check out the company. And if it's not like a scam or something to that effect, they're not robbing nobody or something to that effect, then I'm like, yo, here's my fee, pay me. You know what I'm saying? And I'll talk about them and I say, hey, here's this new company. Here's what they do, and give my opinion, right? And sometimes these companies come and they want you to lie and be like, hey, here's what you got. Here's what we want you to say. And you got to basically say to them, yo, man, what you're paying me is for visibility. You are visibility and activity, right? And no matter what you say, people are going to do what they're going to do. So if you lay out whatever it is and you say, I don't like this, that, or the third, no matter what, if people see good in it, they're going to use it. If the company does not feel confident in whatever it is they're selling, whoever's collaborating with you, if they don't feel confident in whatever they're selling to allow you to make an honest review of them or to talk about them in an honest way, then, dude, what are you in business for, right? Like, nobody should have to lie about your product or service or whatever have you. Now, yeah, I've deviated or whatever have you. But yeah, man, when it comes to this internet stuff and influencers and influence and things like, because there's so much money around music and just activity and things of that nature where there is no reason for us to kind of be like, oh my God, Spotify is only paying X or whatever have you. It's just extracting your value, man, and understanding your value. So you got to be looking at your metrics. You got to be looking at your analytics. You got to be looking at, using things like Bitly, short URL trackers that allow you to identify how many people click a link when you share it, things of that nature. So you can be able to negotiate when you come to the table and say, yo, here's my worth. Pay me for my worth, Bottom line. Word up. Mello Williams was good. He said, great info, bro. Glad to finally catch one of your live streams. Keep up the great work. Thank you, man. Much appreciated. Zoe Page just said he sent me a cash app. That's what's good, man. Thank you, fam. Bella Beth said, it's looking real good so far, and those are great ambitions. Gotta still make an account. Yeah, you gotta make an account, because once you make an account, then I can basically, you'll be an author, and then I can attribute your post to you. So then your image will be linked to your catalog or your profile page, rather, and people will be able to click from your page or your track pages to get to your profile page, Creator Season said, thank you for that insight. With SoundCloud and TikTok being what they are, what platform do you suggest to get to the consumer besides your own website? I mean, it's not a platform. That's the other thing here, man. Listen, these platforms, understand this. I'm going to say this, right? They do not promote you, right? Like me and what I'm building, I am trying to create like a gamified type of infrastructure, right? Where people come in and they play games, like maybe the artist is like, guess this lyric or something like that. Maybe I put up quizzes like whose flat top ruled in 89 or something like that. People come in and they need music to be able to engage with the platform. So curators, artists, and their music, I promote the platform. People come in and they see this music, right? That's there. And it's only indie artists that are going to be posting music to my platform. So they get that attention that's going to come from the ads that pushes the platform. Now, with these other platforms where they have all of this music from these established acts, yeah, they're promoting their platform, but they're beholden to record companies. So when you go to their homepage, you see Taylor Swift, Olivia Rodrigo, Demi Lovato, and these big name artists there, and not you. You know what I'm saying? And they do not promote you in any way. So you can upload your music to SoundCloud and get 0 streams. You can upload your music to any platform and get 0 activity because they are not incentivized to make sure that anybody sees your music. So you say, okay, well, where can you upload music to connect with the? Nowhere. All you can do is make sure that you connect with audiences, be it through organically, where you're going to go and do covers, remixes, freestyles, or whatever have you, or through advertising. That's the way you're going to find your community, because all of these platforms are like, we'll allow you to upload your music here, but then you got to go and bring an audience. So they're effectively like, oh, well, if you have people to bring here, then you bring your people here, and then we might help you get more people. But if you don't have anybody, then you don't matter. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like you just can go there with 0 and make something, you know what I'm saying, unless you are collaborating with established acts or something to that effect. But if you're not collaborating with established acts, it's not much is going to happen there. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So that's it for me today, good people. I've talked enough, you know. It's been real. I appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all go to payusnomine.info. Hit the music button. Go there. Register. Create an account. Submit music. Join the platform. Right? As always, it's links in the description box. The products and services and all of that good stuff that we recommend that you guys can check out and get your mind right. Oh, yeah, one last thing, too, man. I wanted to get y'all opinion on this. Venice Music Distribution. How y'all feel about it? Because I been planning on doing a review on them for a while, but it's like, I just think, like, what's the appetite for paying like $50 a month for digital distribution, right? So Venice Music Distribution is like $500 a year that they're charging, but it's like a white glove service. So it's like, what they like basically they're what AWOL pretends to be. So AWOL says, hey, we are this premier digital distributor, right? That you're going to come in here and we're going to lay out the red carpet. We're going to help you with playlist pitching. We're going to consult you. We're going to provide you all of this marketing support and stuff like that. But they don't do any of that stuff, not unless you're at a stage where you're getting like 10 million streams a month or something. Basically, when you're at a stage where you don't really need their support, then they will help you to take 15% of your revenue. But outside of being at that level, they just take 15%. So in a sense, with a distributor like Venice, instead of saying, okay, well, we're just going to have people sign up and not help them unless they cross this threshold and then we'll help them, they're saying, hey, just pay for it, right? Like, we will have this white glove service. We'll have people that you can actually call and talk to. We'll have people that you can email that's like your guy that you can work with. We will work with you as a team and develop marketing strategies and have like panels and actually like pitch your music for like sync licensing and things of that nature. So they're trying to have this really high-end type of service that operates really differently than any other distributor, leaning really heavily on community, having all of these live streams where like the CEO who used to be like a Spotify executive, having these live streams with him direct talking to individual people and stuff like that, man. So it's an interesting system that they got there, but I just think, and I'm like, well, does it make sense for artists, even with the stuff that they're offering, to pay $500 a year for digital distribution? Because you got to look at it from the standpoint of whether it's really going to like move the needle for you, and maybe it will, you know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, like I said before, it's all about relationships and connections and knowing the right people. So it's like, I would say these are definitely the right people. These are all sorts of people who have all of these different positions in the industry. Troy Carter is the guy that runs it. It's his. He was a Spotify executive. He used to manage Lady Gaga, all of these different types of things. So it's like, having a resource like that can be really valuable, and having an infrastructure like that can be really valuable. Now, is it $500 valuable? I don't know. You think about that, and when I get to the review, I'll be breaking down like basically how much you would need to recoup that, how much how many sales, right? Like how much activity do you need to increase that? But if they doing a whole bunch of stuff with sync licensing, man, it could be worth it. One movie placement or one commercial placement or something like that could pay that off, Yeah, man. I don't know. But yeah, let me get on up out of here, good people. As always, y'all can hit me up at PayUsNoMind on Instagram, at PayUsNoMind on Twitter, or hit me up on payusnomind.info, right? You can hit me up in those places, payusnomind@gmail.com. This is Gift, signing off. Pay us no mind. Peace, good people. One. Y'all be good out there.